Today, we're going to explore some of the mysteries surrounding the life and teachings of Jesus Christ. There's so much more to his story than what we learn in Sunday school or from popular media. So, let's get started and see what we can uncover. Take, for instance, the parable of the Pharisee and the tax collector. On the surface, it's a story about humility, but dig deeper, and you'll find it's also about the danger of self-righteousness. Jesus is warning us against becoming complacent in our own self-perceived goodness, and instead, encouraging us to acknowledge our own brokenness. Another often overlooked aspect of Jesus' teachings is his emphasis on community. He didn't just teach individuals. He taught communities. He showed us that true transformation happens when we come together, support each other, and work towards a common goal. This isn't just about individual salvation. It's about building a better world together. There's also the challenge of separating fact from fiction when it comes to Jesus' life and teachings. So much of what we know comes from the Bible, but how much of that is based on actual events, and how much is interpretation or even myth? It's a complex issue, and one that requires some careful consideration. Another common misconception is that Jesus' teachings were solely focused on saving individuals from sin. While personal salvation is definitely part of the picture, his message was much broader than that. He was talking about a fundamental transformation of society, a radical shift in the way people lived and interacted with each other. That's a pretty radical idea, and one that still has implications for us today. One of the most fascinating aspects of Jesus' teachings is the ways in which they often subverted or challenged the dominant power structures of his time. He was a master of using irony and sarcasm to make pointed comments about the ruling elite, and his parables often contained hidden critiques of the social and economic systems of his day. It's a level of nuance and complexity that's often lost in modern retellings of his story. One often overlooked aspect of Jesus' teachings is his emphasis on inner transformation. In the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus is quoted as saying, "If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not have that within you, what you do not have within you will kill you." This teaching suggests that true spiritual growth comes from within, and that external rituals or dogma are secondary to personal transformation. Another example is Jesus' teachings on wealth and materialism. In the Gospel of Luke, Jesus tells his followers to sell your possessions and give to the poor, and to store up treasures in heaven, where moths and rust do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. These teachings challenge the idea that wealth and material success are measures of a person's worth, and instead emphasize the importance of living simply in generosity. Jesus' actions also speak volumes about his message. Take, for example, his decision to dine with tax collectors and sinners, or his willingness to heal the sick and outcast on the Sabbath. These actions demonstrate a commitment to compassion, empathy, and forgiveness, and challenge the traditional boundaries of who was considered worthy of God's love. One of the most pivotal insights into Jesus' teachings comes from the Gospel of John, where he says, "You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." This statement suggests that true freedom comes not from external sources, but from an inner understanding of the truth. This teaching challenges the idea that our salvation comes from external sources, and instead emphasizes the importance of personal responsibility and spiritual growth. So, what are some of the specific teachings or actions of Jesus that are often overlooked? One example is his emphasis on the importance of economic justice. He was passionate about standing up for the rights of the poor and marginalized, and his teachings often contained biting critiques of economic exploitation. Jesus' teachings on the nature of God are also often misunderstood. He didn't just teach that God was a distant, judgmental figure, but rather a loving, compassionate presence that was accessible to all. This radical redefinition of the divine had huge implications for his followers, and it's an idea that still resonates today. In another example, Jesus' famous Sermon on the Mount is often seen as a set of pious platitudes, but it's actually a deeply subversive text that challenges many of the dominant values of his time. He's not just talking about being nice to your neighbors. He's talking about a fundamental transformation of the way we live and interact with each other. But the most pivotal insight, the one that really gets to the heart of what Jesus didn't want us to know, is this: his teachings were never just about individual morality or personal salvation. They were about creating a new kind of community, one that was based on mutual support, radical equality, and a shared commitment to justice. This is the heart of Jesus' message, the thing that he really didn't want us to know. He wasn't just trying to save individual souls. He was trying to change the world. And that's a pretty radical idea, one that still has the power to upset the status quo and challenge our assumptions. So, let's recap the key points we've discussed today. We've talked about the misconceptions surrounding Jesus' teachings, the challenges of uncovering hidden truths, and the specific teachings or actions that are often overlooked. We've also delved into some of the more radical implications of his message, and seen how it continues to challenge us today. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you've got thoughts or opinions on what Jesus didn't want us to know, please share them in the comments below. And if you're interested in learning more about biblical teachings, be sure to check out our video on the hidden symbolism of Revelation.